on, everybody? Welcome back to the spinoff. Today, everybody, it's going to be the season finale. I've been at it for a while, so I need to take some time off. But today, I'm ending on a bang. I want to welcome my guest today from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, Will Ira Heiden. Thank you so much for joining me.
Dude, that was the best intro ever, but it's Heiden.
Heiden. My gosh, I knew I was going to screw that up. I knew it.
It's so good.
I knew it.
So perfect. But anyway, thank you. It's so good to be on the show, and I'm glad that I could make it. What's up? How's everything with you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. This is like, I'm almost shaking a little. This is like bucket list type stuff for me to have you on. As I said, I'm a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. Always have been. I have his glove tattooed on me. As you can see, I have some merch. Man, what was it like to get a role like that on Dream Warriors?
It was beyond cool. It's the very first movie that I got cast in. I had moved out to LA after graduating high school to become an actor, and I got in with a wonderful manager right away, and she said, we have this movie we want you to go in for. You have to just pre-read first with the casting director. It's Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, and it's with Annette Benson as the casting director. I was like, oh my gosh, great. So I met Annette. She loved me, and then she put me on tape. And then I went back literally 5 times with Chuck, and then meeting some of the other cast and stuff like that before I was secured as Will Stanton. But man, to be a part of it is just now. I mean, back then it was really cool, but now I think it's really even cooler.
And I think nowadays Freddie's kind of exploded as far as pop culture goes. I mean, he's so mainstream and so funny, so iconic. And the fact that you got to be a part of that, I mean, you had a hell of a cast in part 3. I mean, listen to this. Patricia Arquette as Kristen, Ken Sagos as Kincaid, Rodney Eastman as Joey, Jennifer Rubin as Taryn Bradley, Greg Phillip, and Penelope Sudrow as Jennifer. And coming into that, Nightmare 2 was kind of coming off a little bit of a slump. It wasn't well received with fans. It wasn't well received with critics. So what were your guys' thoughts going into doing part 3?
Well, first of all, there's a couple of castmates you left out. What about that guy, Lawrence Fishburne?
Lawrence Fishburne, absolutely. One of the orderlies.
Pretty darn cool. And Craig Wasson.
Yes.
And to get to work with Heather Langenkamp.
Don't forget reprising Nancy.
Just amazing. And even to this day, like we go to conventions and stuff. She's like our mom. She takes us out to dinner. All her kids hang out with her.
Heather's great.
So yeah, I mean, going into it, I had actually not seen number 2. The first one I had seen, and it literally scared the shit out of me. And I had to close my eyes. I was not a big horror fan. That was never really up my alley. But I have to say, since I have grown to absolutely love and respect the horror community, like there are no other. They're like a second family. It's pretty darn cool. And this movie that we worked on, and you talk about all these kids that got together and we're holding each other to try and fight this demon. We're all still friends. We all still get together from time to time. And
I saw your picture on Facebook not long ago at a convention. You guys were all there.
Las Vegas, baby, Days of the Dead. It was an epic show. It was like 3 weeks ago, and I have to say it was amazing. The fans came out finally after this damn pandemic. And everybody was willing to go out and have some good times, and it was wonderful. We kept safe distance, all that stuff. I'm vaccinated, you're vaccinated. We had masks. We didn't, it was really cool, and it was great to see who was there. Bradley Gregg, who I keep in touch with all the time. Rodney Eastman, who got married that weekend. Ken Sagos, Penelope Sudrow, and Jennifer Rubin. We all had such a good time. And Annette Benson came. She lives in Vegas, and nobody knew that she was going to come in, and she came and said hello to us. So it was wonderful.
Oh my God.
You talk about it. It was an epic movie. Talk about like these troubled teens trying to keep together and parents and people don't believe in them. It was a wonderful script. I mean, hands off
Oh,
to Chuck Russell,
oh, he
and
killed
and Frank Devont. So yeah.
absolutely killed it. I mean, you talk about resurgence in a franchise after what was considered a financial failure. And
Hmm.
then part three just rejuvenated the whole thing, and you guys killed it.
Now
And
here's just the fun thing about that, really quick. Um, Kim Meyers starred in Nightmare 2.
yeah.
Um, Now I just finished Nightmare 3, and I landed this role in a movie called Illegally Yours. I played Rob Lowe's brother.
Oh, wow.
Kim Meyers starred in it, and we became best of friends. She's like my sister. I went to her wedding when she met Eric Small, who was Peter Bogdanovich's assistant on Illegally Yours, and we've been friends ever since. So it's funny that I had no idea, hadn't seen it, and yet then we got to work together.
It's amazing that you guys are a part of this franchise, son of 100 maniacs, and you're all
Mhm.
family now, all these years later.
Yeah,
Eh,
it's crazy cool.
It really is. Almost as cool as it is for me talking to you today. My God, I'm not getting over that. All right. This was a question I always wondered. And, nobody wants to be killed off in a movie or a series. And unfortunately, he went out a fighter. He went out the wizard master. I mean, you gave Freddy all the shit he could handle.
I tried.
And okay, now looking back on that, is there maybe any other character's death scene that maybe you would have preferred to go that route? I mean, obviously, living would be the ultimate goal to move on, keep going. But is there anybody's death scene that you were like, oh shit, that would have been cool?
Well, Brian, what would you guess would be my favorite death scene? Let's just
And
see what do you think?
in part three, I would have to say probably when Philip is being used as a puppet.
See, that is an excellent one. You're absolutely right about that, but it's not my favorite.
Oh,
My favorite is definitely Penelope Sudrow going through that TV set.
prime time,
Um,
bitch.
you know, that was to get to watch that all being done was amazing. Um, but I mean, that's great. I mean, you've got this struggling actress who's, burning herself to keep awake. And then there's Zsa Zsa Gabor. And then all of a sudden Freddy's on there and you're like, what? And she goes up, bangs on the TV, and then he goes through the TV and grabs her.
Yep.
Um, my death is obviously my favorite, but that
Oh
would
man.
be, if I had to choose, that would be one.
Yeah, I'd have to say maybe my two favorite in the movie was actually yours and the young lady playing Taryn in the alleyway fight against Freddy. Those were just amazingly shot, amazingly done by both you, the young lady playing Taryn, and of course Robert Englund. You guys did great. Now, what was it like? Obviously, playing uh, a young man in a wheelchair in part three.
That was a really good experience. I mean, I was given the wheelchair to try out for the weekend a couple of weeks before we started working. And I went with my best friend at the time, Harold Pruitt, may he rest in peace, into Westwood. And we were kind of going around and checking things out, and the looks that people gave me, some people were like, "Oh, are you okay?" They would open the door for me, to get into like McDonald's or something. But then
Uh-huh.
there's people that would just like shy away and go. So I learned, not only how to use the wheelchair and stuff, but I also got the feelings that some of these kids get in wheelchairs, which isn't too cool. But I have to end on a happy note. One of our friends, John Schmidt, used to work at this place called Recorder Star. It was actually Pruitt's friend, and you would go in there, and you could record music on a tape and pay a little money, and then they would give you your tape. So I had never met John before, and Pruitt says, "Let's play a little joke," and I said, "Okay." So to go to the bathroom, you have to go, up these steps in that part in Recorder Star. So I come in, I go, "Hey, John, nice to meet you." And I'm in my wheelchair. He's like, "Hey, how are you, man? Nice to meet you too." And I said, "Hey, do you have a bathroom by any chance?" He goes, "Yeah, but it's upstairs." And I was like, Oh, all right. And then I got out of the wheelchair and walked up the stairs because he had no idea that I was just using it, to get used to my role. So that was fun.
And looking back, like we just talked about, your character unfortunately was killed off in part three, but a few characters made it through there, obviously. And one was Ken Sagos as Kincaid, and we also had Rodney Eastman as Joey. But the part of Christian was recast. It wasn't Patricia Arquette in part four. So with Ken and Rodney, what were their thoughts? Being killed off in basically the first act of part four.
They were pissed off about it. I mean, think about it. The ultimate thing is to try and make it through a horror movie, right?
Yes.
I was third to last to die, Brian.
Yep.
And that's pretty cool. I made it through a lot of it. And
yes, you did.
So you want to live as long as you can in a horror movie. And when the writer, cuts you off in the first act, that sucks ass, man. But it is what it is. And I know that Rodney and Ken were super happy to be a part of 4 and to get to work with the cast in 4 was amazing.
I got to tell you, working with Robert Englund, I would probably be roasted by Nightmare on Elm Street groups if I did not bring this up. What was the man really like to work with?
He's such a jerk, man.
I bet he is.
He's horrible. I mean, you hope there's some common decency in him, but no, there's not at all. Clearly, Brian, you could tell I'm joking. I mean, he is by far the most knowledgeable actor. So kind and nice and really willing to work with you. Is just an incredible actor and a very funny one at times too. He always claimed that I was the Woody Allen on speed on set, which was really funny. And I was a young 20-year-old, just kind of all over the place and excited. My first movie I've ever worked on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's a huge one.
Yeah. And so, I'm getting ready for my death scene. And this is a story that I've told many times. And so I'm trying to really get in deep, Ryan, about death. I'm trying to really work on the fact that, what's it going to be like, to experience it, get that scream ready, get that feel of Freddys glove right through my heart, And so I'm probably about 3 minutes away from getting on set, and I'm just right next to Robert, and he's telling me jokes.
Oh, shit.
And he's saying that he just bought this house in Laguna Beach, and it's the most amazing house, and he drives his convertible Mustang. And I'm like, Robert, in his Freddy makeup and everything, Robert, do me a favor. I'm trying to prepare for death. You'll be fine, kid. You'll be fine. So it was quite the thing. And then also something that I've talked about, my death scene, he had retractable gloves that were they would retract in the blades. Mm-hmm. 2 of them weren't retracting, and they didn't have time to replace it. It's a low budget independent movie.
Yeah.
So literally, Brian, they put a 2x4 by my heart, and every time Robert had to hit it, he had to make sure that he hit his mark. And thank God he did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
What was Robert's thought about that? It just, oh God, kid, just trust me.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to be there and you have to go with it, and you have to listen to your other actor who says, I got this, don't worry, kid.
All right. Now I know you told me you only had roughly about 25 minutes to spare, which is more than enough time. I truly appreciate it. I want to round right back real quick to how you talked about Heather Langenkamp kind of being your mother figure to you guys on set. Did that really start with that first scene where she's in the room with you guys and she knows what you're going through? She's seen Freddy. She's dealt with Freddy. So did it kind of start there?
Well, that's exactly where it started, Brian. I mean, when she talks about Freddy, he's got a burnt face and he has and he wears a hat. I mean, we're all in this and figuring out, well, wait a second, she knows exactly what we're talking about. So we could tell right away that this woman was going to be on our side, um, and literally to this day, when we go on conventions, um, we just all have a blast. We have a really good time. Um, and Heather, like I said, she usually takes us out to dinner after the convention. Um, a couple of years back during the Dodgers playoffs, she's a huge Dodgers fan, as is Rodney Eastman. And I love baseball. I'm a Mets fan, but I root for the Dodgers too. And so literally in the middle of the convention, we would stop and just go, "Let's go Dodgers. Let's go Dodgers." So, I mean, we're just, when we're all together, it's dynamic. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It's great.
And when you guys got the script for it, I mean, were you automatically, when you went in for your casting auditions, was Will the role you were actually going for in your audition?
It was. That's the
Wow.
role that I was seriously seeking, and I got the opportunity. And when I heard that he plays Dungeons and Dragons, I grew up playing Dungeons and
Yep.
Dragons, so it was like that was me. When you see that, okay, your horse is sinking in the bog. What do you do? No, come on, you got to roll the dice. What do you do? So it's really, that's me talking and playing D&D. So I think that helped me get the role. Now there was a second where they where Chuck was seeing all the nurses for Joey, and so I was there, and he said, "Do you want to just run lines with all these actresses that are coming?" And I was like, "Yes." So I got to do that for a little bit, which was a lot of fun. But no, all the way through, it was Will Stanton. That was my character.
And speaking of Rodney Eastman as Joey, what did he think having a character that was basically mute until the end of the movie?
Oh, he really loved it. I mean,
Really?
he worked it. I mean, sometimes that's harder if you really think
Exactly.
about it, because you can't say anything.
Yep.
It's, you got to mime everything,
Everything's
and
right here.
you don't want to get to the point where it's too comedic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, we did a reading. We raised almost $20,000 for mental health awareness to the Didi Hirsch mental facility out here in LA. We did a reading of Dream Warriors, and it was with all the original cast,
Oh my
except
God.
we didn't have Lawrence Fishburne, we didn't have Patricia, but we had Rodney, we had everybody except Ken and Jennifer. We had Robert, and it was done at the Whiskey A Go Go, which is a great famous rock place.
Yes.
And so it was so much fun. But Rodney, went through on stage, and he's like, "How am I going to do this? Am
Yeah.
I just going to?" He had cue cards, like what his thoughts would be, and it was brilliant.
Oh
It
my
was
God. That
brilliant
is
because
very cool.
we're like, "Joey, okay, Joey, it's your turn to watch. Okay, my shift was last night. Okay, whatever I do, don't let me fall asleep." And he would hold up a card, go, "Yeah, right." you know. Now here he brought out the comedy, but it was brilliant.
Man, that is some, and see, I love stories like that, and I love to hear that you guys are still so close all these years later. I mean, you guys really look like you formed a bond, a family in the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
come to find out you have, and I'll tell you what, it absolutely showed in the movie.
Cool. I'm glad you feel that. That
Oh,
is great.
absolutely. Ira, I got to tell you, we're getting close to about the 25-minute mark now. This
Right
is where
on.
I'll close it out for you. I turn it over to you. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media, any websites, and then, of course, any charities or organizations you're a part of. Feel free to plug those as well.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on Facebook at the Ira Heiden page. That's where all my fans go to, and I do a lot of fun things on that site. Also, there's a couple things coming out that you may be able to check me out on. I did this movie called Ghostbusters Afterlife that's going to be coming out in November. Now, Brian, you won't see my face,
That's all right.
but you'll hear my voice,
Oh,
because I play one of the mini Stay Puft characters. Actually, three of them.
no.
Swear to you.
Oh, that
And
is awesome.
one of the best times of my life, man. Jason Reitman, just our director, and he's a buddy of mine. And oh my gosh, well, I'm so excited for November 11th. You can't understand. I mean, you think the fans are excited. I'm even more excited to be a part of the Ghostbusters. I mean, honestly, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. We didn't even talk about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
No, and I could have.
Now Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. Also, I am co-producing a documentary about Brandon Lee, who is a close friend of mine. That's for a whole nother podcast. But that hopefully is going to be coming out in 2022, and it's a lot of his friends and people that he worked with, and producers and directors that give these great interviews. Melissa Etheridge, one of them. They were friends, and so there's a lot of great stuff that's going to be coming on there. So keep looking on the Ira Heiden page, and I'll be updating more stuff on there. And gosh, what else?
Charities or organizations?
Charities, or the Didi Hirsch Mental Health Organization is out here in Los Angeles, and I'm always plugging them. Like I said, we raised a ton of dough. Also, thanks to my buddy Robbie Krieger, who signed one of his guitars, which got auctioned off for like almost $5,000. So the Didi Hirsch is a great one.
All right, Ira, man, I've got to tell you this. I'd love to say amazing. I can't figure out any more of a bigger word than amazing. This has been amazing.
Well, I'm excited that I could be here, man. And wear the same glasses that I wore from the movie.
Man, I wish everybody could have seen my face when you put those on before we recorded, because I about lost my shit. It was amazing.
Excellent.
So for everybody watching, you know where to find us. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook at my name, Brian Knutson, or the spinoff. You can find me on Twitter at Knutson_Brian. Audio will be at the Scarlet Cream Husker podcast. So for myself at the spinoff, everybody watching, the Killigans for my intro music, and for my season finale guest, Will from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Ira Heiden. Thank you so much for joining me.
I am the Wizard Master, and I'm excited to be on here for the finale, man. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Ira.